Hello and welcome, everyone. We're excited to have you all attending today. I'm Jim Olson, Assistant Executive Director of the National Tile Contractors Association, and I hope all of your families are healthy and safe. Today's webinar is titled Tiled Shower Systems, Installation, Design Trends, and Waterproofing Options. The goal of this presentation will be to hit on all the various trends we are seeing and planning for with respect to the buildup and final look of a given shower installation. In addition, it will place specific focus on the fast-growing segment of waterproof shower componentry options and all of the various benefits they have to offer. Our sponsor for this presentation is LATICRETE International. Please look for their advertisements in Tile Letter Magazine and our multiple NTCA digital platforms. Those of you that have followed the NTCA webinar series, you know that I have a little business to take care of. Today's webinar will be muted. Please use the questions area on your computer to type in your questions. We will answer as many of your questions as we can at the end of this presentation. And please look at your questions and chat screen, because I will actually put our presenter's email address on there. In case there are any questions that don't get answered, you'll be able to contact him. He will also have that at the end on his thank you page. All of our webinars are available to watch at any time on the NTCA YouTube channel. Within 48 to 72 hours after the webinar, they will be on there. Please go to the NTCA YouTube channel and subscribe, and you will be notified of all upcoming NTCA videos, including all technical webinars, giving you easier access to watch all current and past programs at your convenience. If the audio on your computer is poor, call the number provided on your invite to this webinar and listen on your phone. All right, here we go. Today's speaker, Dustin Prevete, is a product development professional who has successfully launched and supported a vast number of products and platforms on a global scale across a number of different industries. He has shown a strong ability to familiarize himself with the current market landscape and to that of his customer and user base in order to help develop and commercialize thought-based innovative solutions. Dustin holds a BA in Business Administration and an MBA in Marketing from Iona's College's Hagen School of Business. His career spans over 14 plus years and has offered him the opportunity to lead product development efforts for a number of highly recognizable brands with the construction industry. In his current role as Senior Product Manager at LATICRETE International, he is tasked with overseeing an expansive portfolio of products spanning the membranes, shower systems, and floor heat categories. Welcome, Dustin.
Jim, thank you for that introduction. I really appreciate it. And for those listening via the phone, it is a pleasure to be able to work through this session with you guys. I hope you walk away with some good tidbits. You know, hopefully it's thought-provoking in a sense that you come back with any questions. And like Jim said, my contact information will be provided at the end of this presentation, because I want you to feel that, you know, my door is always open. At the end of the day, as a product development professional, it's feedback and follow-ups from professionals like yourselves that really help drive innovation and you know, important innovation within the various spaces that we play in this segment of the industry. So in addition to what Mr. Olson walked us through, some of the other topics I'm going to cover, in addition to the different pre-waterproof showerproofing options and some of the installation and design trends, we're going to cover the various applicable codes and the standards. So some of the ones that you will likely encounter at some point when going through these types of installations. When I think about laying out the learning objectives, it'd be a review of the industry standards and their impact on shower systems, new shower installation methodology and systems specific to waterproofing, new trends specific to the installation of a given shower system, and then new trends specific to the design, cosmetics, functionality of a given shower system. So a lot to cover. Hopefully we do it in a nice, concise way. And like I said, doors always open to hit upon any questions we get at the end of the presentation. So when we think of tile and stone standards, the two major outfits that jump out in addition to the NTCA is the TCNA, which is the Tile Council of North America, and the ANSI, so that's American National Standard Institute. TCNA provides a number of different installation methods for many applications, including showers and tubs. As I see it in my current seat, there's over 35 applicable different methods that would fall within this arena. The two major ANSI standards that we're going to cover and touch upon today would be ANSI A11810, which is load-bearing, bonded, and waterproofing membrane. So when it pertains to tile and stone, and then ANSI A11812, which is a crack isolation standard for membranes as well. A couple other codes to touch upon would be the IBC, which is the International Building Code, the IPC, which is the International Plumbing Code. And then when we get into some of the intricate different installations with regard to barrier-free showers, we're going to touch upon the ADA, which is the Americans with Disabilities Act, the ICCA 1171, which is a tie-in to that Americans with Disabilities Act, the ASTM E96, which is going to be touched upon when we talk about steam rooms and steam showers. It's a water vapor transmission test for perm rating. We talked about ANSI A11810 and A11812 already. Then we have the ASEM 11218 for the drain and plumb supply fittings. And then IATMO PS 106, so another standard that we tend to touch upon when dealing with prefabricated tiled shower receptors. So when you're dealing with IATMO, just one thing to note, you will come across this standard on some of the products that we're talking about. The key thing with this is to look for the CUPC mark, which will be clearly marked on each of the products, so you know it is used in accordance with the standard, and it should tie back to any information with regard to it, the results of the testing on each of the applicable data sheets for these types of products. One other thing to note, these standards and codes are not updated, not all essentially updated on an annual basis. So it is a good rule of thumb to stay abreast to each and stay current on any potential changes or revisions made to any of them. Before we jump into the methods and trends in a little more detail, I want to provide some context around how the various methods are being digested and selected. So from a product development standpoint, this is really the outreach to you with regard to surveys, with regard to on-job site interviews. So I'm gonna jump in a little more detail and try to explain, what we're seeing with regard to methodology selection, and then also the training around said methodology in this new post-COVID era. So COVID-19 has impacted us in a lot of ways, right? There's social distancing guidelines, and that is kind of really put a monkey wrench in the way we kind of disseminated information. There was the trade show aspect, there was in-job interviews, there was live demos and training. Now, in the beginning, before we kind of opened up a little bit, we were hindered in that regard, right? So a lot of the industry standards and a lot of the companies and manufacturers have shifted to more online learning and training modules. So as of March, roughly a third of both residential and commercial pros in a survey that we took stated that their primary source of new product method and training came via online platforms. Just to throw a plug out, the NTCA has a portal for this. It is recommended reading. You are able to access this through your account with NTCA. They have over 100 different courses that are specific to both the products, the methods, and all of the various standards that tie into a given installation. The online component in terms of training is now essential equal to that of on-the-job training and in-person demos. So it's becoming really a way of life, if you will. It's a nice way to do it on your own time. It's a nice way to digest the information at your own speed. It allows you the ability to pause, save, go back, do a little homework with regard to something you might hear, and it doesn't force you to digest it all at once. You do it at your own speed. We expect this trend to continue into 2021 and beyond as more and more manufacturers and associations switch to online-based portals and kind of round out the quality of the content, right? So it's always going to live and evolve, and I think it's going to be a way to digest information moving forward, not just in this specific segment of the industry, but I think across various segments of the industry and across various, almost not just construction-related things, but just as the way we digest information as a whole. When it comes to buying or when it comes to selecting, if you will, preferences tend to be very trade-specific, and they tend to be tied to the level of comfort or experience around a given method. So when I talk about waterproofing, when we talk about installation trends, a lot of the steps taken and the methodology put forth is based on how you were taught and basically what you're comfortable with. Just to close that out, in addition to the NTCA portal, some manufacturers also have online learning portals as well. They are similar in nature to that of the NTCA, but they, in some regard, they go into a little bit more detail with regard to the products as it's specific to that manufacturer's catalog. So it's supplemental information, but it's great information nonetheless. Just to put a little bow around the selection and the learning process, you look at when it comes to selection, it's very segmented. There seems to be a split between residential and commercial. Like I talked about, there's a knowledge base that comes with, you gravitate towards what you're familiar with. And then the third is time and cost. Now that seems to be the one that really is the most flexible in getting somebody to specifically change from their given method of installation after they digest the information and learn about it a little bit more. Between 25 and 33% surveyed are willing to try out a new given option based on their level of comfort after watching the video and understanding the various features and benefits associated with a given method. When it comes to learning, we talked about the top three are on-the-job training, which is paramount, live demos, whether it be at a distributor or a job site level, and then e-learning, whether it's from an association and or a manufacturer. Now we're going to move on to the specific installation methods and some of the installation trends that we touched upon earlier in the overview. In this section, I want to cover everything from shower types, waterproofing options for said showers, and also additional system tie-ins that are becoming more prevalent in the marketplace, whether it's requested by the commercial entities and or end users themselves for their own personal consumption and use. So the first one you're going to see is waterproofing. Now I chose to start off with waterproofing because when you think of it, it truly is the backbone of the support system for a given job. It really, without waterproofing, whatever's built up on top of it is essentially not going to get you the bang for your buck or meet the expectations that you're looking to get from said installation. So an overview with regard to waterproofing. As of 2021, our research has shown there'll be likely a 50-50 split between traditional mud bed applications and pre-waterproof jobs. So when you think about mud beds, we're talking about that traditional installation, and pre-waterproofed, we're talking about anything from sheet to lightweight wallboard. And I'll get into these in a little more detail as we get to the subsequent slides. This is a trend that started a few years back, and we'll continue to skew towards the pre-waterproofed options. And we think there's a number of different reasons that I'll dive into in a little bit later that is causing that, right? Pre-waterproof solutions tend to be favored by the residential installation professional, but that balance is starting to shift as well. The common reasons for the shift are centered around a number of different factors, and we'll go into these in a little detail in a second. Time, consistency, and then ergonomics and safety. So when I talk about time can be looked at in two different ways, right? The first being the push for condensed building schedules, and the second would be tied to the cost from productivity or cost of labor standpoint, right? the quicker you're able to install, the less you're spending on the labor, the better bang for your buck you're going to get with regard to bidding out a specific job. When we think about consistency, it's really more along the fact that more and more end users are learning and embracing the benefits of some of the pre-waterproof solutions, some of the benefits that pre-waterproof solutions provide, right? There's a level of nuance, or not necessarily the level of nuance that you're not going to have to worry about for something that's pre-manufactured to hit a specific spec. It's really just going to be based on the skill of said installer that's really going to garner more consistent results and not really fall victim to some of the various intricacies and issues or obstructions that you might see on a given job site. When we think about ergonomics and safety, which is the last one that I wanted to touch on, along with, it's really a macro trend where the public health is coming into more of a focus, not just essentially in this industry, but across multiple industries, right? It's really focusing on the health of the pro and the longevity and the quality of life after your work is done that has led a common theme with regard to new product introduction that has put a focus on creating products that really minimize the stress placed on the body for a better quality of life long term, like I said, after you step away. As it pertains to waterproofing, there's currently a variety of different options available to choose from, such as lightweight wallboard, sheet membrane, and then pre-coated shower pans. So essentially pre-slope, pre-coated pans that minimize the lugging around of certain materials up, larger, more flights of stairs, basically some of the tight spaces that you might encounter on a job site. So it's really a nice shift to, again, minimize the impact on the day-to-day, and then kind of put a focus on that long-term prognosis for, like I said, after you've walked away and called it a career. It's critical for all these options to be compliant with industry standards, as I previously discussed. So the one thing to note when you're looking at a given solution, it's really just to understand the compliance level of a certain product. Every product varies. It's always best to consult data sheets with regard to the industry standard testing and the applicable approvals for given products. So I chose, going through the TCNA handbook, the classic B14 type installation. So this is a classic installation. It is good for large showers. So this is a mud bed based application. Allows for a level of customization with regard to slope over distance. But at the same time, it can be considered bulky, thick. It has high impact in terms of stress on the body with regard to carrying said materials and also the amount of time it takes for said installation. And it's tough when used with new design approaches, most notably barrier-free. And I'll touch upon that a little bit later on in the presentation. So aside from the mud bed applications, some of the waterproofing types I want to talk about are liquid applied, and they can be both latex-based and a cementitious-based application. Pre-coated, pre-sloped pans, so pre-coated shower pans, ready to slope, applied by thin set, ready to tile. Lightweight wallboard, which can be used in place of some of the cement backer boards. And then sheet membrane, another option to be used on both the floor and the wall for your waterproofing needs. When we think traditional liquid applied, some of the benefits around liquid applied are it's the most conventional, widely known method. It's most common on commercial sites, and in most cases they fall in line with ANSI A11810 and A11812 compliance. Again, it's always best to check your data sheet to make sure a given material is in compliance and the said testing is up to date. It's approved and recognized by a wide number of regulatory bodies, ICC, IATMO, to name a few. It's easy to apply. There's no fabric required. There's a number of different ways to apply it: brush, roller, spray. It provides additional protection the more coatings you put on. And then installation challenges. There is a little bit of a time and a margin of error in that 2 coats needed. While it does provide that extra layer of protection, there is a time-based nature to it, as you have to wait for it to cure and then add the second layer. Some of the other features and benefits are it changes color when cured, so there's a level of security. And now you'll start to see, based on the post-COVID world we live in, the touting of the antimicrobial technologies that some manufacturers are adding into their product to give that extra peace of mind both during the installation process and then after the installation process. Next, we're going to talk about Preslope, Prewaterproof, ready-to-tile, integrated drain pans. So these are prefabricated pans that come drain in, tile ready. So thin set down, thin set on top, tile, right? The benefits are, from an ergonomic standpoint, they're lightweight, they're easy to transport depending on the size. Productivity, the drain is already installed, so it minimizes the potential for mishaps. You're going to get consistent results based on the quality of the product from a given manufacturer. They are ADA compliant, and again, when I say ADA compliant, most are ADA compliant. You have to check your data sheet to make sure they are in accordance with the slope, the per square foot, per linear foot, regulations. They are site sizable, and they allow for some level of customization. So if you get to a job site and you do have to make additional cuts, they are easily site sizable. Some of the challenges, however, around them are the transition to the mud bed. So if you are somebody who has used or gone through with mud bed installations in the past, there might be a little bit of a learning curve. But at the end of the day, being the pros that you are, I don't think that necessarily would be the case when zeroing in on one of these types of installations. There is a small margin for error. So while customization is a gift, it's also a curse in that there is a small margin for error when looking to size on site, and they could damage easily during transit. The only real work aside from thin setting down, you do have to make sure you're treating all seam penetrations before tiling, and the various types of drain-in options span from ABC, PVC, and then also brass. Next, we'll talk about Preslope, Prewaterproof, ready to tile. So not necessarily integrated drain, but some of the same great features and benefits, right? Lightweight, easy to transport, consistent results, ADA compliant, site sizable, same type situation. So the available, and then some manufacturers, and this is where we're seeing a lot of the trends go with regard to installation, is customization, right? To have the ability to fit one of these to site is really a nice thing in terms of that productivity aspect of the build, right? To cut down on time, cut down on labor, and when you tie that to ergonomics, you cut that down. You cut down on the abuse the body takes. It makes for a nice, concise, safe install. When using one of these pans, you're also going to obviously need to waterproof the wall. And to tie in that ergonomic story, companies are starting to create and offer lightweight wallboard in various different sizes and configurations. What does that get you? Aside from the fact that it's lightweight, right? Very modular, site sizable, consistent surface. A lot of these are now steam room and steam shower related. Relatively low learning curve. It's affixed directly to the stud, and then it is ready to tile after some level of treating seams and penetration. It's really becoming popular in both the residential and commercial segment of the business. One of the fastest growing subsets we're seeing based on customer reaction to it. Some of the challenges, it's not suitable. They're not all suitable for submerged applications at this point. So there is the potential for some innovation there. Can damage easily, and there are standard sizes. So there is some level of customization depending on the intricate nature of a given shower or a bathroom with these. Last but not least is sheet membrane. So again, some of the same features and benefits, right? Lightweight, ergonomic, The installation, the challenges you want to place is placement in tight spaces. Because there is a level of thin set that is needed to apply these to a given backer board, there is a little bit more time taken for the removal of the excess. There also is the potential for buildup along seams and corners, and I think that really carries with it a moderate learning curve. So while once you're versed on it, you can see the true productivity benefit with regard to time, there is a little bit of a learning curve to get yourself fully versed and be able to really fly through one, if you will. In some cases, this sheet membrane also does come pre-applied to either the wall boards or the pan. So again, check a given manufacturer's data sheets and installation instructions to understand what level the sheet membrane you would be looking into is going to come, whether it's pre-applied to said wall board or said pan, or if it is going to have to be manually applied to said pan. So we've talked about some of the waterproofing options. Now we'll talk about some of the installation trends that we're seeing, and barrier-free is the first up to bat. So when going through the current TCNA handbook, we took B421 and B422, and that is the C method. So it's the method with use of a bonding flange and or a linear drain. These are good for barrier-free installations. Now, when I say barrier-free, that is a obstruction-less shower, and I'll touch upon that in the next slide. So why is this good for barrier-free? It connects the waterproofing membrane and the drain at the surface, minimizing buildup. So what does that get you? That reduces the additional modification to the floor height to remain compliant with ADA guidelines when it comes to slope per linear foot. One thing to note on these when dealing with that type of membrane that is not mud bed specific, waterproofing must be carried to the height of the tile and the assembly on the wall, and that's just to guarantee the consistent flow of water and no buildup behind said installation. So, why barrier-free? Are you choosing it because it's compliance related? Are you choosing it because it's on trend? These are some of the things you'll know going into the job, but they do, come in both ways. So there's some level of compliance when it comes to barrier-free installations due to the ADA, in that a certain given number of showers must be barrier-free in a specific build. And then there's a level of, hey, it really looks nice. Cosmetically, this is where I want to see, I'm the end user and this is how I'd like to see my bathroom. They allow for easier access and security with regard to getting in and out, so minimizing slips and falls. Clean sight lines from a cosmetics perspective. Space maximization, so really, with reducing the sight lines, it obviously makes the bathroom look a little bit bigger to the naked eye, and thus more appeal with regard to resale on a given property or home from a residential standpoint. They're on trend, and there's less maintenance, so there's less buildup, there's less cleaning. So it's definitely something that has become more and more requested by both end users and builders as well. So when making that distinction to go barrier-free, the first thing up to bat is really defining the space, right? So that is it, like we talked about, is it purely aesthetic, or is it for purposes mandated by the ADA compliance, right? You want to first define the receptor area. It's not always clear what the receptor area is. You want to make sure it's not, if it is the entire room or it's just the area that is contained to the shower. And that is something that's going to come from the architect. And that's really what's going to drive whether or not you need that second drain to capture that overflow. With regard to the walls, there are different environmental classes that you're going to need to take into account with these. And that's really going to determine the level of waterproofing. And those can be found in the TCNA handbook under the environmental exposure classifications. And that's really going to outline in detail what level of water exposure you're going to be faced with the build. And that's what's going to kind of lead you into the amount of waterproofing you're going to need on said walls. So we focus on COM 2, 3, and 4, which are limited water exposure, so not soaked or saturated would be a COM 2. Wet, which with regard to shower walls, would be more of a COM 3. And then COM 4 would tie to high humidity, high moisture, so steam and shower rooms. So I chose this barrier-free cross-section. Now, this is one of the spec sheets that we provide. I know a bunch of different manufacturers provide said spec sheets or installation for given installations. The industry is working on creating additional details and standards for these applications, but we really focus on the two details that we talked about, that 421 and 422. Some of the challenges around the barrier-free installation is there could be challenging obstacles on the wall and that on the walls or undulations and whatnot, and that's what's going to kind of determine whether or not you need that second drain. There's a level of maintaining pitch, so it's a 1/4 inch per linear foot per the ADA regulations. Smaller showers can have more issues, so it's just simply not enough room to meet the required slope, or there's the need to raise or recess the subfloor to be in compliance. How that ties in with ADA, like we talked about, you can have no more than a 1/2 inch rise coming into the room. So it's that ties back to, like I said, the 1/4 inch per linear foot for the slope. Typically, a minimum of 36 by 36 for a front entry is the size you're going to see on these, and that's really just to account for the radius of a wheelchair being able to turn, and that differs from a side entry shower, which would be a 32. Traditionally, a good example would be 32 by 60. What I can tell you is many of the preformed or pre-slope pans that you'll see in the marketplace kind of account for this in the sizing that they offer. This is already taken into account, so it almost foolproofs that portion of compliance for you. Once you have the shower in and ready to go, there is a level of flood testing that's going to be required. Now, there is no formal industry standard. Manufacturers and or installers are at the liberty of designing, developing, and verifying your own. I've provided a link for one of our examples just so you guys can get a sense of how we write it out. It provides a method overview, and then it gives you the timing, right? So you circle back to your data sheet for the given installation, and that's what's going to determine how quickly you can get in and flood test. There is some variance between the liquid applied, the sheet, and the different wallboard options that are offered right now. So we just talked about barrier-free as one of the different installation options that's being asked for from both an installation and a cosmetic standpoint. The next is going to be floor heat, right? So when you think about floor heat, it's exactly what it sounds like, integrated floor heating systems. And they're starting to move into the shower portion of a bathroom install, right? This is no longer just the bathroom floor. People are requesting these in their showers, essentially. It can be looked upon as both a primary and a secondary source of heat for a given room. Only floor-based installations are considered to be appliant with electrical code. So again, consult your data sheet to see and make sure that they are in accordance with said code. From an end user standpoint, research has shown that as part of a master bathroom remodel, it can help enhance the overall resale value of your home when you're circling or when you're taking out just the master bathroom part. And that's along with other popular trends such as open concept showers, freestanding tubs, stone and large tile countertops, and separate enclosed spaces for the toilet. There is a seamless installation process when you tie this to barrier-free. So when you marry up those two trends, it makes it a little bit easier with regard to the installation. And as always, be sure to check manufacturer's installation instructions for more details before undertaking such an installation. So when you've made the switch or you've made the decision to switch to floor heat, what are the different system components you're going to be looking for? Mats and wiring are the first, essentially, just like waterproofing. The mats and the wiring are the backbone of a given heat installation. There is fully integrated peel and stick mats, so the wire and the adhesive are already come in a roll. And then there's the manually applied wire membrane. We tend to see that as being the more popular of the three systems that I'm going to talk about, and the last being the heat strips. So they're affixed directly to a given substrate. The wire, the mat provides a little bit more customization when you're manually applying the wire to the mat. There are levels of compliance with UL. There is so again, check your data sheet, check your installation instructions, as there are only a few UL approved installation methods with regard to wire spacing per square foot when it comes to floor heat. When you think about thermostats, there's just the basic set my temperature and walk away. There are fully programmable, which you can set to timers. You can learn your habits. And then there's some level of smart, right? So Wi-Fi enabled, some smart integration into the home is becoming a greater trend. And that allows you to tap into that and add your floor heat system to said smart home integration. Some of these products learn your various habits and adapt to where you almost essentially have to do nothing. It kind of does the work for you. And there are GPS features in there, so where you can set it to know, hey, I'm X amount of miles from my house. I know how long it typically takes to heat up. I can get you to a certain temperature before you've essentially gotten home and are ready to take a shower or go into the bathroom. Additionally, there are heat conductive additives too that enhance the uniformity and the efficiency of said floor heat. Again, check data sheets to truly understand the capabilities and the true features and benefits of these types of products, but they are available out there, and they do increase the efficiency, which you can tout as lower overall cost to own, maintain, and use. Now that we talked about some of these the installation trends, the system installation trends, we'll talk about some design trends. So an overview, multiple different finish options are starting to make their way into the bathroom, so it's not just one given selection, and that allows for a more modern and vintage feel depending how you play those off each other and the aesthetics of said finishes. Minimalistic has become something truly universal throughout the house. Now, not only does it play in the barrier-free or zero-entry shower portion of the bathroom, it also comes into play when you're looking at different drains, drain grates, and water drainage overall, and we'll get into that in a little more detail. Multi-use, so open concept, multi-use and open concept kind of flow together in that you can use a bathroom for open in terms of having a steam room or a shower, or just an all-encompassing shower with a free-floating tub. There's decorative tie-ins, so there's consistency through the accents and different fixturing, which I'll talk about in a sec, and then customization, right? Everybody, there's that move away from being cookie cutter. Everybody wants to put their own stamp on things, and with some of the different pans that we've shown and some of the different installation options we've shown, there's also the level of customization from the finishes to sort of tie a nice bow around that whole story for a given install. When we talk about finishing options, mixing on mixing, but some level of uniformity is key, and that's throughout the fixtures, the accents, the drains, and the grates. One of the toughest things to kind of follow, because it's ever changing, are the popular finishes. So this is almost a revolving door. We look at it, finishes have a good 3 to 4 year lifespan before they're kind of obsoleted themselves. So the key is to stay on or ahead of trend. When we look at 2020 and 2021, white and black matte are becoming increasingly popular, as are chrome and nickel. So real neutral colors in that regard. And then gold, what's old is new again. Gold has really started to make a comeback with regard to different finishes in the bathroom. Brushed is an overarching theme to mask fingerprints. So it's for ease of cleaning. You know, you would choose a brush finish based on the fact that it has a muted surface, so you wouldn't necessarily see all the fingerprints and water spots. Right? It's key to have that, you know, that non-reflective finish like a polish. So it really just brings out the material, brings out the details of the material, not necessarily the wear and tear it's taken in the bathroom. When we look at minimalistic drains and drain grates, tile in corner, tile over, so slightly recessed, where you're able to adhere thin set and then the matching tile to the drain, invisible, and then wall integrated are really becoming go-tos for new bathroom selections. And that's based on the cosmetic appeal, the fact that they're easier to clean, and that there really is that nice appearance when used with larger stone and tiles. I know I touched upon open showers a little bit earlier. Open is really transitioned throughout the whole bathroom. So that's fully sloped, fully waterproofed, enclosed spaces that are all encompassing, whether it be a freestanding tub, multiple drains and jets. They, by definition, are barrier-free. And that's really where we would circle back to that define your space portion of the barrier-free installation, and really getting to understand the amount of water flow and the amount of volume that's going to be going through said bathroom to really determine what level of drainage you're going to need. And then if you're going to transition them to steam rated or potential sauna enclosure, you have to know that ESTM E96 are the permeance ratings of a given membrane to know if it's rated for steam showers. And it's really knowing the exposure class as well, and that's what ties back to that secondary drain selection and the waterproofing with regard to the walls and the ceiling. Specific to steam showers and steam rooms, you're going to want to waterproof the entire enclosure. Steam rooms, like we just talked about, they are trending due to the perceived health benefits. I mean, some of the health benefits when you think about steam showers, they help relieve stress, they help relax muscles, soothe aches and pains and muscle joints, remove toxins, cleanse the skin. So basically, you know, health and well-being, kind of almost, you know, near sister feature and benefit to the ergonomics, really preserving that quality of life. And steam showers are starting to become more popular as we take into effect the COVID-19 effect, if you will. As people are spending more and more times in the home, they're realizing either deficiencies they have with their current space or improvements that they want to make moving forward to enhance their, you know, standard of living within the space and or the resale value should they look to leave said space. Steam rooms have integrated showers. Like we said, they are fully waterproofed from ceiling to floor, and they are tied to the industry test method / standard of the ASTM E96, which, as we talked about, is in regard to the perm rating of a given waterproofing solution. So when we think about low perm or waterproofing for a steam shower, always make sure that you're in accordance with ANSI A11810, which is the standard for load-bearing waterproof membranes. ASTM E96 method E, which is essentially the method specific to steam showers with regard to the temperature thresholds given to that method of testing. Less than 0.5 perms is what you're looking for to be considered steam shower rated. If you tie that back to the TCNA handbook, you'd be looking at installation method SR613 and SR614. And as a general rule of thumb, it's always good to check with the manufacturer of a given membrane to get their perm rating off the data sheet to make sure it's in accordance with the testing standard that we just talked about. When it comes to tiles, we're seeing thinner tile / mosaics really becoming popular with end users and also installers. It allows for graphical patterns, which ties back to the customization aspect that we talked about. They feature matte finishes, style-driven, less perceived maintenance, neutral colors, which are perceived as timeless, and there's resale appeal because you feel that bathroom is move-in ready on a more consistent basis than somebody who wants to make changes. Dimensional and subway tiles, vast customization and color options, and then larger tiles overall, 48 plus, and stone are replacing the smaller ones in some cases. From a shower systems perspective, manufacturers are developing products such as pans, flanges, and grates that are designed to work in accordance with these types of tiles to make the installation process easy and kind of, eliminating the extra legwork that it would get to marry up the install. The last one I'm going to touch upon from a design standpoint is a transition to marble, concrete, and terrazzo. All three materials are starting to funnel their way into the bathroom. The concrete provides that industrial vintage effect. Marble is just a transition and commonality between the kitchen and many open floor plans. And then terrazzo is truly customizable and perceived as low maintenance with regard to cleaning and the upkeep. So I hope that was a nice concise overview with regard to some of the design trends that we're seeing, and I know companies and manufacturers like us are designing around and designing in accordance with, as we look to provide the most comprehensive solutions to our both installers and also end users alike. I'm gonna close out the last section, really focused on just general tips that we can talk through that we see when going out on job sites, just recommendations that we can make at a very high level to kind of help, just fact checking or really just allowing for a level of preparation to be ready for a given installation. So membrane termination points, by rule of thumb, we say waterproof as much as you can, right? When it comes to wall heights, that'd be really determined by the buildup. So determined by the waterproofing method. If it's that traditional mud bed, you have a little bit more liberty on how high up on the wall you want to go. But if you are using one of those, pre-waterproofed solutions, there is a level of height that you're going to need to look at with regard to that installation, and that really essentially is up to the shower head almost itself. And then when it comes to the floor, obviously it makes sense to, and we're in the business of it, waterproof the entire bathroom, but it really is just recognizing the drainage and understanding the slope of a given floor with regard to where you're going to want to waterproof to make sure you're encompassing all of the potential overflow that could come with a given bathroom. When it comes to barrier free, use a bonding flange and or a linear drain that's best suited for surface waterproofing, meaning that you're eliminating the buildup. We touched upon that in B421 and B421C and 22 and 22C. Use a high quality waterproofing membrane. I'm not going to make any plugs, but I'm sure you guys all have your go-to with regard to the method of waterproofing. Keep it low. The lower the buildup, the less legwork you're going to have to do. And remember to flood test, right? That's optimal when it comes to the overall quality installation, and then the potential for follow-up work that might necessarily need to be done in the future. For barrier-free and/or open showers, understand and define the space to see if that secondary drain is really needed, so you can capture the overflow that cannot be captured by the primary receptor, and that really comes with locating the shower, the drain, with regard to the termination point. Consider flow rate, especially when you have multiple heads and jets, as that's going to play a role into what the overall intake of said drain is going to be. From an installation standpoint, know all of your options, right, regarding the available installation materials. I know we covered a bunch of different options that are available to you. Really get a sense of what you think works best for said job, or what you think works best for said level of labor skill that you would have on a said job. And then know that there are customizable options, right? Everything doesn't have to be that cookie cutter approach. There are different things you can do with regard to pan sizes, drain sizes, finishes. So there are companies out there offering up a number of different customizable options in all of these different arenas to make each job as unique as the end user or the customer might want it. Last but not least, when it comes to labor and training, use certified labor. This really is a joint industry effort between NTCA, TCAA, CTEF, and all of the various industry partners and manufacturers. And from a training standpoint, it's out there, right? The material is out there to be digested, whether it's from the specific associations and or the manufacturers. We are providing that content. We want you to interact with us with regard to that content, digest it, ask questions. You know, the more it can be a free-flowing conversation, the better it's going to be in terms of the products we produce and also the the focus that we have on some of the pain points that you guys are seeing out in the field. So as I put a bow on the presentation as a whole, in summary, continue to stay in the know regarding the applicable industry standards. Familiarize yourself with all the various installation options available and all of the different trends. Stay up on the trends as they evolve, and just know that there's a strong focus around productivity and ergonomics when it comes to the installation process. So at the end of the day, you know, we have the health of the installers in mind with regard to any innovation around a given product line. And with that, I thank you again for your time, and I guess we'll open it up to questions right now.
Thanks, Dustin. Great presentation. I'm certain that our audience appreciates your expertise and knowledge on this and the extremely informative information you gave. We do have a couple questions, and I want to make sure everybody notes that Dustin has put his email address and his phone number on this last slide. For those of you that have questions and haven't sent them in yet or don't get answered, I just want you to be aware of the fact that you can send them to Dustin and or call him, and he may need to research them, but he'll get you the answers you need. But Dustin, we do have a couple. Here we go. So on a pre-made shower pan, is the curb sloped as well as the shower pan, or is this a problem we need to take care of on our own as installers?
No, it is pre-sloped by the manufacturer to work in accordance with said pan. So all of the different pans and the dimensions are taken, all of the different dimensional measurements are taken into account. At least from my perspective, the pans that we offer are specifically, the curbs are specifically to work in accordance with said pan.
Great. Some clients insist on having a heating mat in showers. Do you recommend this? I'm assuming you do, since that is something you guys sell, right?
There's a little bit of a gray area there, Jim. So when it comes to barrier-free, we're of the belief that go for it, right? When you think about curbs, because there's a vertical nature to the curb, when you interpret, it all really depends on how you interpret the code, right? So it goes against conventional wisdom to go with vertical. And essentially, even though a curb is only, I don't know, roughly 2.5 inches, you are going vertical up over the curb. So there's a level of gray there that I think, at least from our perspective, we're not 100% comfortable with green lighting until some further testing is done. But barrier-free, definitely go for it. And then curbed installations, I'd have to refer you back to the data sheet and or the installation instructions of a given product.
So as always, we say manufacturer's recommendations supersede all others. So please check with your manufacturer and find out what their thoughts are on that. Good answer. All right, let's see what else we have here. We got someone saying, great job. That's good.
I like whoever that is. Send me his email.
Can you use a liquid membrane on top of a mortar bed installation?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. And how would you flood test a barrier-free shower since there is not a curb to hold the water in for the test?
Yep. Basically, make a dummy curb with something that you feel is of waterproofed, right? I mean, you can, because there's no real industry standard around flood tests, you're really open, they're very, very liberal in a sense that as long as you can validate your method or validate the fact that you used something that is waterproof to create an enclosure, you should be able to validate said test. Now, at the end of the day, that could change once an industry standard is put in place. But right now, there's still that wiggle room.
All right, Dustin, that's all the questions we have at this time. Again, I can't thank you for enough for the great presentation that you gave to our attendees. I want to make sure that everyone knows to thank you for being here. It was great that you were here, and please look for the invite for our next webinar, which is scheduled for September 28th. You should get an invite sent to you soon. Dustin, have a great week. Thank you, everybody. Nice that you've been here, and I hope you guys enjoyed your Labor Day weekend.
Thank you, everybody, for giving me an hour of your time. Really appreciate it.
All right, bye, everyone.
Bye.